Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA 1580. Today, I'm in Homewood, Illinois at a brand new African-American owned bookstore, a woman-owned business, Beyond the Book. Google that, Beyond the Book in Homewood, Illinois, more than just a bookstore. This is a place where creativity meets connection, nestled inside the bookstore. Our cafe offers thoughtfully brewed coffees, curated teas, and pastries that pair perfectly with your next great read. Whether you're here to relax with a book, meet a friend, or fuel up between projects, the space is designed to inspire both comfort and creativity. Particularly honored to have the privilege to bring our show to Beyond the Book. Sometimes we have to travel on the road, and I'm grateful that this African-American owned business has given us the opportunity to use her Wi-Fi, but also to showcase our show and our work. It's Thought-Provoking Thursdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where our regular host, Dr. P.L. De Silva, who has over 20 years experience of backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He's taught politics, international relations, and several undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and Queen's University of Belfast, Northern Ireland. Dr. De Silva's publications include Postmodern Insurgencies, Political Violence, Identity Formation, and Peacemaking in a Comparative Perspective. Dr. De Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be
Dr. De Silva, in this hour, we're also joined by the president of Lead Integrity and professor at Occidental College, directing their flagship United Nations program, Dr. Azam Karam. Dr. Azza, how are you?
I am very well, Jesse. It's so lovely to see you and be on your show again.
I'm honored and privileged to have you here, Dr. Azza. I couldn't get over the op-ed that you published in Al Jazeera. I'd like to read just two brief paragraphs at the very beginning of our program, because we're going to discuss this over the next hour, because this particular article really shocked me, and it's very thoughtful. It begins, for more than 40 years, Western governments, multilateral institutions, philanthropic foundations, and private contractors constructed one of the largest political engineering projects in modern history, the attempt to manufacture democracy abroad. With billions of dollars, thousands of programs, and a sprawling ecosystem of actors, the West pursued a deceptively simple goal: to transplant liberal democratic norms into societies emerging from authoritarian rule. The strategy assumed that if elections were supported, civil society trained, parliaments strengthened, and the rule of law institutions modernized, democratic governance would naturally take root. But this grand experiment, Dr. Karam writes, rested on a profound misconception. As Thomas Crothers argued more than 2 decades ago, the West was wedded to a specific transition paradigm that insisted all states emerging from dictatorship were on an unidirectional path toward democracy. This assumption produced a democracy promotion machine designed around linear expectations and technical fixes, rather than political realities. The heterogeneity of cultures and histories and centering the dynamics of behavioral change. The uncomfortable result is now undeniable. The period of greatest Western investment in democracy coincided with the greatest global democratic decline. In many cases, the very tools of democracy assistance enabled authoritarian consolidation. Dr. Karam, your article is amazing. It is worth reading, and we are going to be discussing this for the next hour. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Aza Karam.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I think you read the most important part of that article already, and I'm grateful that it has shocked you. I think that was part of what I'm trying to get people to see, and to feel the shock, because feeling the shock is part of getting to changing a number of things that absolutely need to be transformed, most especially our understanding about behavioral change.
I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the American experiment that substituted billions of dollars right behind colonial and authoritarian regimes, that our assumptions were wrong, that we have made some profound assumptions that, quite frankly, are unraveling the democratic order. Dr. De Silva?
Yes, and you can see it closest to all of us, all around us, with Trump 2.0. You can see how the democratic institutions, the federal government, and everything is being dismantled. And part of it is the uncanny business that after the failure of Trump 1.0, that people actually went and voted for him again and got him back into office. I mean, that's the thing that really beggars belief. And it seems that we have not learned the lesson, and it is now a little bit too late. We are 1 year into Trump 2.0, and people who actually voted for him are now like, oh my God, what did we do? And you can see, I mean, in Miami, you know, you have a Democrat as a mayor for the first time in 30 years. And you have Mamdani in New York. So you can see all of these things. And now Trump is scrambling with this whole business of affordability. But it's not only affordability, because his presidency truly is toxic for the American people.
We are listening to PL De Silva, Worldwide with PL De Silva on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And our very special guest in this hour is the president of Lead Integrity and a professor at Occidental College, directing the flagship United Nations program, Dr. Aza Karam. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Check out the champagne. Everybody get glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-260-3330. That's 800-260-3330. Find out if you qualify today, 800-260-3330, or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
The article, How Investing in Democracy Failed and Enabled Authoritarianism. I want to walk on this live show with Dr. Da Silva, but more specifically, our very special guest, the president of Lead Integrity and professor at Occidental College, directing their flagship United Nations program. I want to walk through some critical elements of this article with our listeners. First, beyond the thesis, Dr. Crom, you argue the U.S. democracy promotion machine represented outputs without outcomes.
Mm. Indeed. And I think the issue here is there was plenty of outputs, X amount of workshops done to train whatever, X amount of institutions that were created or that were eventually put together, X amount of trained professionals, either in the judicial sector or in the political parties or in civil society, etc. There was plenty of that. But what we can see very clearly is that instead of all of this institutional and investment in specific sectors, instead of it leading to a more democratic set of norms and actions, it has actually meant that certain people, i.e. the age-old elite, remain very much in power, and this time remain in power empowered by precisely the same set of activities, initiatives, and resources that were meant to create and lead to a democratic transition. But we instead have intransigent, very much rooted, old elites with no intention of transitioning to democracy, i.e. no intention of being held accountable.
That's a profound point, Dr. Crom. You then go on to argue that multilaterals and the rise of supply-driven democratization have also created a problem and a troubling approach.
They are simultaneous. We tend to think only of the United States doing X, Y, or Z. The truth is that the United States and a chunk of Western Europe have been holding the reins within not only their respective countries, but around the world, as well as within multilateral institutions as we know them today, for instance, the United Nations. So when one set of actors weakens, the entire infrastructure is actually also weakened, a reflection one upon the other. They're not separate mechanisms, Jesse. The multilateral world as we know it today has the United States, the United Kingdom, France as key permanent 5 Security Council members of the United Nations system, i.e. decision makers within the United Nations. Their investment in so-called democracy abroad is very similar. There is very little to distinguish it. Their stay and hold over the United Nations Security Council, the key decision-making body, is where they fail in what they do outside, they fail in what they do within the UN system. They are the same actors operating in different places. And what nobody wants to acknowledge is these are the new and old colonial actors who are now have been pretending over the last, and have been investing plenty of money, by the way, over the last 5 decades, trying to institutionalize democracy or to lead to the rise of democracy. But you don't do that when you haven't changed a fundamental misperception, which is that you cannot control others. You have to collaborate with others. You have to be accountable to the very same other you think yourself better than.
You know, Dr. Crum, when I traveled around the world, even before I got elected to Congress the first time, I bumped into the Ford Foundation. I bumped into Hewlett. I bumped into board members from these companies who were funding projects on the ground in the name of democracy. You argued that philanthropy and the donor-dependent civil society model has not worked either.
Indeed not, because at the end of the day, one of the most oft expressed sentiments during the so-called Arab Spring was by many of these multilateral institutions, by the United States government, by a number of Western European governments was, who are these people on the streets? Where did they come from? Who are they? Well, gee, you should have known, because you should have been working with these people, but actually you don't know them because you were only working with the elite. And you were only working with those specific groups of the elite that you were comfortable with, because there's other elite that you may not have been too comfortable with, who may have been too religious, may have been thinking too differently from you, may indeed have looked very different from you. But if you continue to invest in the elite that you trust, quote unquote, they are the ruling elite. And the civil society also includes those who are very much part of the ruling elite, and whose dream, if they aren't part of the ruling elite, they dream to be co-opted by the ruling elite such that they may become part of the ruling elite. Those are the people who were supported for decades by our institutions, whether in the United States or indeed across Western Europe. And it was not just in the name of democracy, Jesse. It was also in the name of development. It was also in the name of human rights. We have a lot of people much more savvy about democracy and human rights, but they're much more savvy about how to use and abuse those terms, institutions, and privileges. They're not necessarily savvy about how to be held accountable to the rest of their populace for precisely those values.
Dr. Azza Karam is the president of Lead Integrity and a professor at Occidental College, directing their flagship United Nations program. Dr. Karam, before I bring PL back into this conversation, you're suggesting also that there is a democracy industry. Yes. That is almost a prepackaged proposition that shows up in the developing world to promote these notions of democracy that from the inside, as an American, a perspective looking as kind of do-gooders, if you will, but on the ground, these projects have only institutionalized that very elite that you just spoke of.
Absolutely. And instead of elaborating what's already in the article, Jesse, let me just tell you an anecdote. And this anecdote is of going to a number of countries and speaking with a number of people as part of the democracy promotion industry myself. Because remember, I have served in those spaces. I'm not looking at them academically or theoretically from outside. I have been one of those tools and actors in the attempt to promote democracy and democratization endeavors in different parts of the world, most especially in my own part of the world, in the Middle East. So here's the story, Jesse. I go to a number of different countries in the Middle East. They shall remain unnamed, if you don't mind, because I'd like to go back to them again. And I meet with these so-called civil society, democracy promotion, human rights actors. And in almost every one of those countries, I get taken aside because I am the one of the Egyptian background who can speak Arabic, and this is Arabic-speaking countries. I get taken aside by the head of this particular organization. Remember, this happened in more than one country, yeah? And I get told in different ways, of course, but the gist is this. Okay, look, really happy to hear all the talk about how valuable democracy is and all that stuff, but let's cut to the chase. How much are you guys going to give us to do this work?
How much?
And that was the chase. That was it. That was it. It was the money that was going to be transferred, that was going to ostensibly, how would that ever work, Jesse? That it's about the money that you're going to give to these particular civil society organizations, and they're going to take care of making sure that they can bring democracy come about. They're part of the elites. They made money They were able to increase their bank accounts, their social standing. They became part of the ruling establishment, which was very smart to maneuver them, to get to know about them, to have them alongside. Et voila, we have a much more democratic series of countries around the world, don't we? I'm being sarcastic.
Peel?
Yes, so this is also reflected with the end of US aid. So when US aid was destroyed, a lot of these elites that were receiving money from US aid to do this so-called democratization work just kind of withered and died overnight, because their funding source, dried up. I mean, of course, there were people who were doing good work, with on the health side and reproductive health and things like that. But overall, the people who were involved in the political enterprise of democratization, they just disappeared, and that's the whole thing for us to be aware of, that all across the globe where USAID was active in Central and South America, the continent of Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, all of these people all these countries had their non-governmental organizations that were receiving money every year from USAID to conduct these workshops and institution building efforts, etc., 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 which by and large were divorced from the popular politics of those countries. So you can see what happened in Sri Lanka. You had a left-wing, landslide elections in Sri Lanka, which were not connected to USAID. You had a similar thing happen in Bangladesh. Pakistan is being contested, and the story goes on. So these are the people that suddenly appear, like in the Middle East with the Arab Spring, and the USAID folks and their counterparts in those countries were none the wiser.
I think it's important, if I may, to also delineate exactly along the lines of what Dr. De Silva said. These people have not disappeared. They have simply faded a little bit into the background, but they never disappeared. And this business, this enterprise of democracy creation and democracy building started right after the end of the colonial era with the nationalization. When many countries became independent, this entire effort started then. So this goes back a long time, and there are generations of folks who have tried to do this. But I think one of the most important things, and I do allude to this in the article as well, it was an investment in trying in reworking or restructuring or attempting to better or improve, whatever the terminology is, the structures that are supposed to deliver on democracy. It was an investment in the structures delivering politics. It was not an simultaneous investment necessarily in the service provision part of it. Those that did invest in better health, providing better health care, providing better educational systems, those that did invest in that, they were not the elite. And the folks who do this work of saving lives and improving minds and knowledge are not necessarily part of the elite simultaneously. But it was trying to focus on the institutions without looking at the broader publics and how they spoke, what they needed, what was their priority. If we had perhaps, and this is really a perhaps, had there been a simultaneous investment in the social service provision of things, which is, by the way, what right-wing religious parties did and do. They invest in hospitals and schools and clinics, even in transportation systems that can be an alternative. When you invest in the service provision, your likely outcome to understanding what communities need and serving them is much better than if you try to invest in institutions and structures, which will ultimately always be operated by the folks in power anyway. We see this happening here. So I argued that because we didn't take into account the religious organizations, who are the principal, longest serving, longest standing social service mechanisms, because we didn't take those folks into consideration as much, because we didn't try to support them as much, We actually ended up focusing more on the political institutions and infrastructure, which is a pity. But now that we're seeing, some of us are seeing the value added of the religious institutions and organizations, we're going overboard with that. And we're trying to co-opt them into the mainstream political infrastructure, because now these are all the good guys. They're going to solve out they're going to sort everything out. They're going to be the best. Neither approach is wise. It isn't about fully investing in the religious. It is also not about fully ignoring the religious. There is a medium there that has to be defined ability processes. So both have to be done. Social service, political infrastructure, and all actors have to be on board. Not only the religious, certainly not only one religious, but actually the religious, the secular.
I agree with you. I just want to make this one point before we come forward. We have essentially packaged democracy and tried to deliver it on a silver platter. But the reality is we did not start out as a democracy. Every right that we have as Americans is an earned right. Mm-hmm. And it is through vigilance that we are willing to fight and die to protect the rights that we've had and that we enjoy. We started out as a republic.
Yes, and those who do that, but just there are people who have done this. There are people who are doing this still today. In Egypt alone, there's over 60,000 political prisoners of conscience. There are people who are prepared, who have died trying to do this honorable thing in their respective countries, but they have not necessarily been the ones that the industry operated from the United States and Western Europe have tried to support from within their communities. And nor should they.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Worldwide with P.L. De Silva and Dr. Aza Karam. She is the president of president of Lead Integrity and professor at Occidental College, directing their flagship programs. Today, we are in Homewood, Illinois, a cafe experience at a book company headed by an African-American woman. Beyond the book, Sip, Read, Connect, handcrafted espresso drinks, specialty teas, locally secured pastries, and light pastries. I am particularly honored she has welcomed us into her program and into her office on this occasion. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Dr. De Silva.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is reclassifying marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, easing federal restrictions.
This reclassification order will make it far easier to conduct marijuana-related medical research, allowing us to study benefits, potential dangers, and future treatments.
Trump says the change is meant to help Americans living with chronic pain and other serious health conditions. Former Vice President Kamala Harris says Democrats are, quote, stuck in the past, end quote, and often ignore new voices. Speaking on a podcast, she criticized the party for giving, quote, lip service, end quote, to listening without real engagement. And a lawyer says fired Michigan football coach Sharon Moore, who is Black, has a history of domestic violence against a university staffer. Moore was arrested December 10th, hours after being fired for an inappropriate relationship. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The biggest game in the NFL regular season jumps off tonight in Seattle. The Rams and Seahawks, both 11-3 in the NFC West, meet up in a battle that will have a major impact on the number one seed in the NFC playoffs. A win tonight gives the Rams the inside track with 2 games remaining. 5:15 kickoff on Fox 11 and Amazon Prime for all you streamers. Former NFL linebacker Hardy Nickerson, who grew up in Compton, made some history Wednesday in California high school football. He's the first Black head coach to be hired by a school in the prestigious Trinity League Conference. Nickerson, a 5-time Pro Bowl selection, was hired by J. Sarah High School. Nickerson led Bishop O'Dowd High School in Oakland to the Division V AA state championship this season. The Trinity League has produced 5 state champions since 2019 and has 7 players on NFL rosters this season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Nugget bells, nuggets all the way.
Hi, I'm Kylie.
I'm John.
And I'm Garrison.
And a little thing we love about the 30-count Chick-fil-A nuggets
is sharing them when we cut down the Christmas tree.
We will pack the car with gifts. And of course, we go and pick up our family's favorite nuggets.
Every nugget is tasty times quadrillion.
And we get all the sides.
Yeah, the ooey gooey mac and cheese is a big hit.
Share the nuggets, share the joy. Order the 30-count Chick-fil-A nuggets on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Thought Provoking Thursdays. We're worldwide with Pio Da Silva and Dr. Ozzy, President of Lead Integrity and at Occidental College, directing their flagship United Nations program. I do have a couple of questions to our guest as I bring them forward in this moment while we took this 6-minute break. I'm saying to myself that Dr. Karam's piece reminds me of a couple of things that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that I do think matter. And I'm wondering if Dr. Karam co-wrote this with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She said, listen carefully, everybody, I would not look to the United States Constitution if I were drafting a constitution in the year 2012. She says, every constitution written since the end of World War II includes a provision that men and women are citizens of equal statures. Ours doesn't. She goes on, a prime part of the history of our Constitution, and this is important to me critically, is the story of the extension of constitutional rights to people once ignored or excluded by the Constitution. Dr. Karam, I get the impression that you're saying packaging democracy in the framework of the modern American mind and delivering it on a silver platter, when these may not be rights that grew from the grassroots, from the very bottom of the society, that became enshrined in these societies as governing principles, that our democracy projects around the world are simply flailing.
Well said, actually, Jesse. And I think there's an important caveat here. It's very easy to become culturally relativistic, and that has happened, where people say, oh, these countries, these folks are not, they can't do democracy. They don't have democracy in their culture. They're culturally not suited for democracy. That is an incredible misperception, because at the end of the day, the root of democracy is the freedom to choose and the freedom to hold those in positions of power accountable, and the freedom to be accountable to those who look to you for making decisions and looking after a system. Everybody wants that. There is no such thing as a certain culture that does not want that. The issue here is not whether the democracy was delivered on a silver platter by a group of people who understood it in a certain way only. Yes, that did happen. But there is also the fact that it wasn't about trying to understand what the yearning for democracy looks like in different communities, in different contexts. It was also about not wishing to change a particular model that you have for what democracy should look like and what the strive for democracy should be. And I worked in institutions which had a specific understanding, international institutions, not USAID, international organizations, who had a specific understanding of what democracy should be, what democracy promotion should look like, what people who want democracy should be doing. I am criticizing that way of trying to understand and assume and make happen how others should dream democracy. It is about understanding what people need and want and how to serve those needs and wants, and what that process would look like that may be very different from what you and your folks and your people and your country and your even continent wanted or did or looked like. And part of what we're struggling with here is understanding the other. So rather than the business or the industry of democracy promotion actually making us more humble about what we have as democratic norms, expectations, structures, mistakes, misapprehensions, instead of rendering us more self-critically reflective to take responsibility for what we do, what we understand as the requirements of democracy in the United States or Europe, instead of that, it has become, over the years, about trying to impose that same notion that you have that may well be riddled with its own mistake, exactly along the lines of what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said. It is riddled with its own problems, but you take it and try to impose it on others, believing, as the others would make you believe, some of the others would make you believe, that this is okay, fine, we'll work with you towards realizing this. But it isn't about imposing a particular norm. It is perhaps, and this is the biggest lesson that we missed, Jesse, and that continues to be missed. It isn't about improving the other. It is about working with the other to improve together ourselves, which may well entail, in fact, must entail, looking critically at what we have as understandings, as norms, as values, as structures, and seeing what is not quite right there, instead of making sure that you do it the way we think it should be done. What if the way we did it is wrong?
Stick a pin in that right there for a second, because Dr. P.L. De Silva, in this moment, there's a whole bunch of people on CNN who shouldn't be on there, and Dr. Aza Karam deserves her own show. There's a whole bunch of people on MSNBC who ought not be there. Dr. Aza Karam deserves her own show. But I want to pivot for just a moment with PL. PL, listen, we, in our democracy project, told the Persians that we want the Shah of Iran to be to run the country under his regime, and we, got cheaper oil for it. We've told Zelensky in that democracy project, even as he fights with Russians and tries to maintain his democracy project and join Europe. And by the way, we want the critical minerals. And just yesterday, Donald Trump told Mr. Maduro down in Venezuela, in their failing democracy project, that's our oil anyway. So we're going to take it. PL, the democracy project comes with some quid pro quo, and it also comes with a little bit of crime. How am I saying? It's not a lot of. PL, break this down for me.
Right. So let's take Venezuela. So everything that's happening down there, and what the White House is telling us, is actually contravening international law. It is contravening the sovereignty of Venezuela. Whether we like Maduro and the Chavistas or not, that's not the point. The point is that we need to observe and respect the sovereignty of Venezuela as a country and their national resources. We can't put our grubby paws on their oil and say it's ours. You need to give it to us. There's no way. And by the way, I want to tell you that Chevron continues to be sending tankers with Venezuelan oil without any hindrance. So that's also something to keep in mind, that there's no issues with Chevron taking out oil from Venezuela. Those tankers are coming to the U.S. without being stopped by our gumboat diplomacy. There's also rumblings within the U.S. military where, seniors, very senior officers, a U.S. admiral who was in charge of Southern Command, he resigned 2.5 years before he was due for retirement because they don't agree with the White House policies. This is brigandism. And if you look at the law of the sea, UNCLOS 101, this is piracy in the high seas, taking the skipper, the tanker, and towing it to Houston and saying, this oil cargo is ours. It's simply not done. And it is it's colonialism and imperialism at the worst. The mask has fallen. We're not even pretending anymore.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is KBLA Talk 1580 worldwide with P.L. De Silva and our very special guest, Dr. Aza Karam. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro.
In California, all workers have rights, no matter their immigration status. If you or a family member were detained by federal immigration authorities and did not receive your final paycheck, contact the Labor Commissioner's office. You can file a claim even if you left California or the U.S. Call 833-526-4636 from the U.S. or outside the country 001-833-526-4636. Document wage theft and report it to the Labor Commissioner's office.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're listening to Worldwide with Dr. P.L. De Silva and our very special guest, President of Lead Integrity and Professor of Occidental College, directing their flagship United Nations program, Dr. Azza Karam. Dr. De Silva and Dr. Karam, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and leave a word of hope at the end of our program for Dr. P.L. De Silva to deliver, to give him a moment to think about it. In fact, I hope we get to it, because I do have two more questions of Dr. Karam that I think bring this article, which is available in Al Jazeera, published on December 14th, and its title, How Investing in Democracy Failed and Enabled Authoritarianism. My final two questions, Dr. Karam, and please take your time. Why did democracy aid fail, and how did it create a strategic adaptation of authoritarianism? And last but not least, the irony and the tragedy. Democracy's aids actually enabled authoritarianism.
So just very quickly, a clarification. The article is available in Arabic only on Al Jazeera, but it is available in English on lead-integrity.com, which is our website.
Oh,
And you'll
fantastic.
find the English version there. Very quickly, your two questions can be answered in one very simple and a slightly more elaborated answer. The simple answer is democracy failed over there because it failed over here. Our attempts to bring democracy to the world were riddled with the imperfections and outright failures of our own systems of democracy. And what we can see today isn't just that folks over there didn't quite get it, but it is the fact that the way we imposed it, or we thought it would be imposed, did not take into account our own institutional and systematic weaknesses of values, of implementation, and of understanding and inclusivity of the broader population. Democracy here is hanging on a thread in the United States of America, which is the realm of everybody's democratic achievement for a long time. But democracy in America is under threat. That is also why the systems of democracy abroad that were supported by both American and Western European are under threat. These things go together. Had we spent a bit more humility on understanding where our own deficiencies are, especially in the fact that we never paid reparations to those that we oppressed systematically and took the lands of and then made into slaves, that we never thought that this was something owed to the people, that we never took into account that our systems of election are still based on some very contemporarily unnecessary understandings of how elections should be and electoral systems should work, that we refused to understand that by not being inclusive, it's not a favor we do others, but it is an imposition of our own arrogance of specific groups of the elite. We never questioned our own systems of democracy. We therefore exported problematic systems of democracy abroad. The process begins, like everything else in life, by looking within to see how we can improve our own understandings, values, implementation, praxis, and policies. Then we can work with those around us to see how they aspire and dream freedom and democracy, but not by trying to impose a rigged, problematic system on anyone else.
There are at least 2 shows on CNN that could be replaced starting tomorrow with perspective from Dr. Karam. PL, it doesn't get any clearer than Dr. Karam's analysis. Dr. Karam, just before we go, and PL gives us his word of hope, can you share with us how we can reach you in the event that we want you to have a broader audience for those listeners who need the proper guests to help instruct and share with the world where we are right now? How can we reach you?
Thank you. That's a very nice question. Very kind of you to ask it. Lead-integrity.com. That is the website. I am there. I can be reached there. Always towards the end is where you can reach me. I'm always available. Besides, you know how to reach me, Jesse. If the people want me, they can come to you too. But first, they need to elect you to Congress.
I appreciate you, Dr. Karam. PL De Silva, we've got about 4 minutes. Take your time on whatever you want to talk about and also give us a word of hope.
Right. So while we embark on a great project to restructure our politics, our political system here in the United States, the immediate note of a positive note that I'd like to strike is that we need regime change, and for that to happen, we need to organize like during the times of the civil rights movement. We need to bring out the vote, and in the midterm elections next November, we need to show everybody who's the boss. It's not the loudest voices that are the bosses. It's the people whom we don't get to hear from, who don't have a platform to speak. It's their time to go out and vote and change what is happening to this country. It is a great country. Many, many people came to this country because they believed that there was something called democracy in this country. But now we see all the racism that's coming out, all the class aspects where the poor people are being downtrodden. And it's as if poor people don't matter. And they are the majority. And this 1% of toxic billionaires are the only thing that matters. That's the only show in town. Come on, get a life. We need to bring out the vote. We need to chase these people out. We don't need billionaires in our politics. We need to stop the super PACs. We need to stop these guys with so much money who are destroying the electoral democracy that we have in this country. We also need to get rid of the electoral college, because that's an archaic throwback, and that's simply not on in the 21st century. And we also need to stop all this gerrymandering that's going on, redistricting, redlining, marginalizing, people who are brown and black, and marginalizing them, and also oppressing the first peoples in this country from whom this land was stolen. So we need to give back, and we need to give back plenty. And in order for us to do, the first step is the midterm elections to show who is actually the boss.
I am so grateful that Dr. P.L. De Silva, who has a 20-year history in backroom diplomacy, and Doctor and President of Lead Integrity and Professor at Occidental College, directing the flagship United Nations program, Dr. Azza Karam, has been our very special guest. These are our favorite duo on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. They deserve their own shows on much broader platforms. Give it some consideration. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on Thought Provoking Thursdays. Up next, Dr. Johnny Mack. More when we come forward. Thank you so much, Dr. De Silva, and thank you, Dr. Karam.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see you guys soon. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is reclassifying marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, easing federal restrictions.
This reclassification order will make it far easier to conduct marijuana-related medical research, allowing us to study benefits, potential dangers, and future treatments.
Trump says the change is meant to help Americans living with chronic pain and other serious health conditions. Former Vice President Kamala Harris says Democrats are, quote, stuck in the past, end quote, and often ignore new voices. Speaking on a podcast, she criticized the party for giving, quote, lip service, end quote, to listening without real engagement. And a lawyer says fired Michigan football coach Sharon Moore, who is black, has a history of domestic violence against a university staffer. Moore was arrested December 10th, hours after being fired for an inappropriate relationship. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are on the road tonight. The Lakers are at Utah. They're 11-3 on the road. The Clippers are at Oklahoma City. Tough place for the Clippers to snap a 4-game losing streak. OKC is 24-2 and 12-0 at home. This has not been a good week off the field for Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua. He found out Thursday morning that his 27-year-old brother Samson was one of 2 men arrested by LA Sheriff's deputies for stealing a car that belongs to Lakers forward Adu Thiero. Nacua may get a call from the NFL office in New York regarding his critical comments about referees. During a live stream podcast on Tuesday, Nacua said some NFL refs make calls just so they can be shown on TV. Nacua had planned to do the podcast inside Rams headquarters. When Rams head coach Sean McVay heard about it, he told Nacua, not in here. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This holiday season, KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you and yours joy, peace, and prosperity. As we celebrate with family and friends, we're already looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on YouTube. I had a couple of meetings today in Homewood, Illinois, and it would have been impossible for me to make the radio show in Chicago. So the owner, an African-American, the owner of a new bookstore called Beyond the Book Literary Experience, opened up her bookstore to allow us the opportunity to do our show from her studio. And I can't thank Tania from Beyond the Book for making this opportunity possible for us and allowing us not to have to travel 45 minutes to rush in front of a show and be unrested, but to be present. More than just a bookstore, podcast studio, networking events, professional development, workshops for all ages, book signing events. Our community connection includes book clubs, community meetups, curated book collections, inspire creativity and innovation. And it's just absolutely beautiful. The aura, the smell, the diffuser is absolutely fantastic. But now we turn our attention to the serious business of World House with Johnny Mack. Dr. Johnny Mack is a social entrepreneur and scholar practitioner with expertise in the subject areas of peace, conflict, and social change and movements. He's traveled extensively throughout the Americas, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, working in the fields of peace, development, conflict, and nonviolent social change. Dr. Mack's seminal work, After Confrontation, Then What, challenges the putative logic of nonviolent social change theory and practice. Particularly, he rearticulates